So I started off, I moved back to Ghana in 2006, late 2006, early 2007 from the US. And I accidentally started a microfinance company. And most of the people that I had helped or worked with were in the agribusiness sector. Most of them were women who were into the agribusiness processing or were small scale farmers that I had worked with. I was looking at lending money to. Along the way, I realized that the need was not finance alone, but there was a lot more that needed to be done to grow these businesses. And so it was more involving than just lending money to them or trying to find them access to the finance, because there were a lot of things that were not in place that needed to be in place. So through the microfinance initiative, going into the villages, going onto the farms, running around and trying to see what the women we were lending to or the men as well we were lending to were doing, I realized that agriculture had a huge future and a great potential in the region, that there was a lot that needed to be done to make it sustainable, and I wanted to be a part of it. Mobile Business Clinic works with a lot of small and medium enterprises in the agri-business sector. So we're focusing along the value chain. So from input suppliers, people who make equipment in the agri-business sector, and you're looking at people who are processing, aggregating. So different people along the value chain who at the end of the day also support small scale farmers. So what MBC is trying to do is to work with these businesses to help them streamline their businesses. We also have a finance module as well, which is more responsible financing, trying to get the businesses to understand their finances. Because you'd be amazed about the number of people in the industry who do not keep the right records. The people who do their businesses and just have it in their head. So if they do keep records, they're not enough. And so there's a need for more information, more data keeping, and for them to be able to show what they're doing to anyone who might want to come there and put funds in. Because one of the biggest problems, if you go around and ask people, what is your biggest problem in the agribusiness sector, the first thing they'll tell you is finance. The problem is you don't have access to finance because you don't have the right tools in place, you don't have your finances in place, you don't have good leadership in place. And so when you don't have your books in place, when people come in or investors are looking at you, it takes longer for them to either disburse the money or even want to put money in your business. A lot of people are entrepreneurs and know how what the ideas they have and what they want to do, but they generally do not have an idea as to how to run the businesses successfully and to be able to grow their businesses. So you see that a lot of agri businesses in Africa or even in Ghana specifically grow to a certain point and don't get to the next level, which is what might have been the vision of the entrepreneur at the beginning when they started. So with the capacity building, you're able to help them build the capacity of their managers, of themselves in certain critical areas, such as in finance and project management, even in the leadership aspects of things. Some of the challenges could reach facilities, which is a big thing when you travel around the region, where you see that there's a lot of post-harvest losses because a lot of these businesses don't know how to store their products, or a lot of these farmers don't know how to store their products, or they don't have enough storage facilities or the right facilities. You also have challenges such as mechanization of agriculture or lack of technology to get you the right yields, to get you the right output that you want, or even the quality when you're processing the product. The technology might not be available to you here in Africa or even in Ghana specifically. So you see that there are a lot of things that hinder or limit the way these businesses grow. It depends on which part of the value chain you will be working, but whichever part, be that if you're an input supplier, supplying seeds or you're developing equipment, you need to know your market very well. You need to know where your raw materials are coming from. You need to understand the farmers and the communities you're working with. It's really important. You need to understand the product itself, the seasons that go behind it. For any entrepreneur, it's important to understand all of this to make informed decisions at the end of the day and see how much you can actually really sell of the product and if there's continuity or sustainability in that business. And you need to understand who the consumers are. What are they buying? What are their preferences? How is the market changing? And it is changing. There's a growing middle class. They want better products. That is, if you're into the processing part of the business, they want better products. And even if you're a small scale farmer, even understanding what kind of products are people looking for, what quality are they looking for, how am I drying my product, all of that come into play. So it's very important to understand the business you're going into. And you have to be very humble about the process because it's quite humbling. Going into communities, going into villages, and working with people from different backgrounds, and you need to understand all of them or try to understand most of the things that you come into contact with. So for every entrepreneur coming into this business, I would say it's a great opportunity. There's a lot that needs to be done. It's a market that it's still untapped. Agricultural business has been talked about forever, but it's still an untapped business opportunity. So work hard and be humble and understand your business and the people, and you do well. It's very interesting. It's where the market is. What are people looking for? And you can find a market for every kind of product that you produce. Most of the food that address food security issues for me are very interesting, such as maize is interesting to me, soybean is interesting, rice is interesting. But the issues then come up of economies of scale or if it's some of the products might be sustainable. So there's a market for a lot of things, spices, peppers, ginger. There's a big market for it. So for anyone coming in, I think the best thing is to do your research very well as to what market you want to serve and what they're looking for. And once you understand that, it makes it easier for you to decide what you want to go into. The agribusiness sector has not been very developed. It's been based on peasant farming or small scale farmers for years, and it's still that way. There are few commercial farmers coming into the market. But in a few years, I expect and I am hoping and I am praying and I actually believe there's going to be a lot of change because you're going to see a lot of young people getting into agriculture. And it's a direction that the government needs to encourage and the government needs to push in that private sector of the youth and the young people getting into agribusiness because that's what's going to push a lot of youth employment and development in this area. And I think in 5 years it's going to be that you see a lot of youth coming out of universities wanting to go into it. And I'm seeing it when I travel in various regions. I see the youth wanting to be a part of it, wanting to make agriculture work, either commercial or even on a smaller scale, either way. But in the next few years, it is going to get bigger. And I think a lot of direction and a lot of focus needs to be put on that so that in 5 years' time, we're seeing more sustainable agriculture, you're seeing more and better quality yields and products in the market, and seeing better processing of agricultural businesses, better manufacturing setups of businesses in the agri sector. But all that ecosystem and that all the conditions need to be conducive that in 5 years would be up and running. But for now, it's picking up. It's picking up. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done.